السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الكلام كلام الله، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد. There is no doubt, ikhwan, that these sittings, looking into and studying and taking some benefit from the book Kitabut Tawhid, one of the greatest books that were ever authored by any alim from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These jalasat, ikhwan, without doubt are mubarakah, blessed sittings. For indeed, the Salaf of this ummah, they used to say, Inna sharaf al-ilm bi sharaf al-ma'loom, that the nobility of a science or a branch of knowledge returns back to the nobility of the topic that is being studied. And when the book Kitabut Tawhid revolves around the knowledge of the Tawhid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no topic that is superior and that is more noble and that is greater than the study of the topic of At-Tawhīd. Even though Imām Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab was mutaakhir, yani was from the latter day scholars, his writings, and in particular the book Kitabut Tawhid, is most resemblant to the writings of the Salaf of this ummah. Surely by now, with those who, and the sittings that have passed, you would have become familiar, and I'm sure all of you in any case are familiar with Kitabut Tawhid, but you would have become familiar with some of its chapters, the methodology of Sheikh Muhammad, his great Imām al-Mujaddid, in his authorship, his manner of arranging the chapters that you have studied thus far, and his usloob in delivering the subject matter. Anyone who is familiar with this book and is familiar with the writings of the Salaf, then it is without doubt ala nafs al-minwal, and it is without doubt upon the same methodology and tariqah as the authorships of the Salaf of this ummah. From the great ulama of this era who have spoken about the book, we have the beautiful statement of Sheikh Abdul Rahman Al-Qasim, who mentions in his explanation of Kitabut Tawhid, speaking about Kitabut Tawhid, he mentions, Inna Kitabut Tawhid alladhi allafahu Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab أجزر الله له الأجر والثواب ليس له نذير في الوجود قد وضح فيه التوحيد الذي أوجبه الله على عباده وخلقهم لأجله ولأجله أرسل رسلا وأنزل كتبا وذكر ما ينافيه من الشرك الأكبر أو ينافي كماله الواجب من الشرك الأصغر والبدع وما يقرب من ذلك. He mentions that indeed the book Kitabut Tawhid that was authored by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, may Allah Azza wa Jal make his reward abundant, it has no comparison. No book is comparable to it in existence. And that is, of course, a reference to the books that were authored by men, the books that were written by human beings. There is no doubt that he does not mean that it is not comparable to the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal, for indeed it is comprised of the speech of Allah Subhanahu. And so he mentions there is no book that is comparable to it in existence. He has clarified within it the Tawheed that Allah Azza wa Jal has made wajib upon his servants, and that which he has created them for. And by way of it, or due to it, Allah Azza wa Jal sent the messengers and revealed the books. And Allah Azza wa Jal has sent his prophets. And he mentions within it that which opposes this from shirk al-akbar, or yunafi kamal al-wajib, kamaluhi al-wajib, or opposes its completion, or the wajib, yani kamal, yani that which is possible for a person to strive towards achieving, but that which opposes its completion and its perfection from shirkun asghar, from minor shirk, and from bid'ah, and that which draws one close to that. He mentions فَسَارَ بَدِيعًا فِي مَعْنَاهِ لَمْ يُسْبَقْ إِلَيْهِ. He mentions, and so it is then unique in terms of that which it discusses in its meaning. No one has preceded him to it, or to its like. علما للموحدين وحجة على الملحدين واشتهر أي اشتهار وعكف عليه الطلبة وصار الغالب يحفظه على ظهر قلب وعم النفع به وتصدى لشرحه والتعليق عليه جماعة من الجهابذة النبلاء. He mentions rahimahullah ta'ala that it indeed is knowledge for the muwahideen, and it is a hujjah and a proof and an evidence against the mulhideen, against the heretics. It has become hugely popular, and the students of knowledge, they sit to study it. He mentions to the extent that the majority have memorized it by heart, and the benefit that has come from it is all encompassing. And many from among the Jahabidatun Nubala, from among the great, tremendous, bona fide scholars, have entered into explaining it and commenting upon it. This is Kitabut Tawhid, a book that was authored by the Mujaddid of the era that he lived in. A book, brothers and sisters, that revolves around the most important topic ala al-itlaq, the most important topic that we will ever study, and that is the Tawhid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in particular the most important branch of Tawheed, the Tawheed al-Uluhiyya, the Tawheed of the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out in worship, what that means, how it manifests, and what opposes it. This book then, Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, since the subject of these two sittings is an overview of the book, what we're going to try and do is at least get a general zubda of what is present within the book, the chapters of the book. Something around the method of how Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab authored and arranged the chapters, and how the Imam gathered the adillah and how he established a proof against the khasum. Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he wrote the book when he was in Basra, or he began its authorship when he was in Basra, and then he completed its authorship in Najd, arranged its chapters, completed sections that were incomplete, removed from it that which displeased him, until he completed the book. And so we have it in its form that it is in today. As we mentioned, Imam Muhammad, he has a methodology in his authorship. Since the khusum and the opposition to the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab and those who opposed him were many, but for the most part, the majority of those who opposed his da'wah were quburiyin, worshippers of the graves, from the people of Tasawwuf and from the Sufiya, a people who were staunch in taqleed, staunch in making taqleed of the madhab, usually the madhab al-Hanafi, though they were likewise from them upon the madhab al-Maliki and Shafi'iyya and Hanabila. All of these madhahib had with them individuals who were upon the aqidah and the belief of at-tasawwuf, following the Sufi tariqah, regardless of the tariqah itself, but they were people of worshipping the qabur. And so Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he knew that his khusum, those who opposed him, he knew of their nature. He knew that if you are not from them and with them, then that which is ordinarily the case is that they will reject anything that you have to say and not wish to lend an ear to any of your statements. And so you see the wisdom of the Imam in his authorship. When he compiled the book, this was something that was clearly in mind. The book, Ikhwan, it has some 66 chapters around the affair of Tawhid and that which opposes Tawhid. And you'll see that the methodology of the Shaykh in authoring the book, some of the chapters of the book resemble a book of tafsir. The Imam, he mentions the chapter heading, مَا جَاءَ فِي قَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى, and then he mentions an ayah. No statement from himself other than قال الله تعالى and the ayah. Some of the chapters, he begins by mentioning a ruling upon a particular affair, and that is his lot, that is his statement. Everything else that is present within that chapter is nothing but ayat and ahadith. And those ayat and ahadith indicate that which he mentioned from the ruling that he placed and mentioned in the chapter. Because he knew who he was dealing with. Had he begun the chapter with an explanation of a particular affair and then mentioned the statements of the muhaqqiqun from among the ulama who were upon the Sunnah, then they would have rejected it outright. But his methodology was the methodology of the scholars of tafsir and the methodology of the scholars of hadith. The likes of Imam al-Bukhari, who in terms of authorship, his methodology was similar to that which we see Sheikh Muhammad having in his book. Chapter heading and then ahadith. Chapter heading and then ahadith. And so Sheikh Muhammad, from those 66 chapters, we have some 15 chapters. The only thing that he mentions within that chapter is an ayah. قال الله تعالى كذا. 15 chapters. Then we have some 21 chapters wherein he mentions ما جاء في كذا, that which has occurred concerning such and such. And what he means by ما جاء في كذا is that which has occurred from the text, the book of Allah, the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, statements of the companions, statements of the tabi'een. Thereafter, whoever wishes to reject the book, then that is entirely up to you. But what you have rejected is a compilation of ayat, a compilation of ahadith, a compilation of the statements of the companions, a compilation of the statements of the tabi'een. Hikmah fi ta'lif. And so the one who studies Kitab At-Tawhīd, he will benefit from it al-ijmal and tafsil. He will benefit this methodology of mentioning something generally and then mentioning the detail in relation to that general statement. Another one of the methodologies of the Imām in the book. He'll mention something generally and then he mentions the detail in relation to that general statement from ayat, from ahadith, from statements. Similarly, from that which you will benefit, and the talib will benefit, is benefits in relation to the refutation of those who the book was intended for, and that is Ahl shirk, and in particular those who fall into shirk from those who attribute themselves to this ummah. The Quburiyun, the Sufiya and the likes, the Rafida and the likes. Similarly, what you will benefit from Kitab At-Tawhīd is you will benefit some of the usul of munadhara, some of the fundamental principles in debate. Na'am. The one who studies Kitab At-Tawhīd, then he will receive benefit in debate. And Imam Muhammad would debate with the people who opposed the affair of Tawheed and opposed what was written in his book in numerous debates. And those debates have been compiled. The debates and the munadharat of Sheikh Muhammad with various individuals. But he himself mentions concerning this affair of him debating with the people of innovation and the people of shirk, and his usloob and his methodology in approaching them. He mentions, rahimahullah ta'ala, as occurs in a letter that he wrote to Abdul Rahman al-Suwaidi from the scholars of Iraq. He said, أنا أخاصم الحنفي بكلام المتأخرين من الحنفية والمالكي والشافعي والحنبلي كل أخاصمه بكتب المتأخرين من علمائهم الذين يعتمدون عليهم. He said, first and foremost, when I debate with the Hanafi, he said, I debate with them using the speech of the latter day scholars from the Madhab al-Hanafi. Yani the Hanafi scholars, the latter day scholars. He said, and I debate with the Maliki and the Shafi'i and the Hanbali, which indicates here clearly Al-Imam Muhammad was from the Muhaqqiqun and had no ta'assub to any madhab, Al-Hanbali or Al-Shafi'i or Al-Maliki. Here he mentions, I debate with the Hanbali. That is, if he is upon these bid'ah and khurafat and khuza'balat, I'll debate with him likewise. And so he mentions that I debate likewise with the Maliki and with the Shafi'i and with the Hanbali. كل أخاصمه بكتب المتأخرين من علمائهم الذين يعتمدون عليهم. He said, all of them I debate with them using the books of the latter day scholars from their ulama. All of them, those books that they rely upon. And so those quotes from the kutub and from the scholars of those madhahib, who of course were from the people who from those schools of thought were known to be upon khair and upon good, but they likewise recognize them. So he'll utilize those books, utilize their statements, and refute these individuals. He mentioned all of them, I debate them with the latter day scholars from their madhahib, those who they rely upon. He said, فَلَمَّا أَبَوْا الْمُعَانِدُونَ ذَلِكَ نَقَلْتُ لَهُمْ كَلَامَ الْعُلَمَاء مِنْ كُلِّ مَذْهَبٍ وذكرت ما قالوا بعدما حدثت الدعوة عند القبور والنظر لها فعرفوا ذلك وتحققوه. He mentions, and so all of them, he said, when they reject, which is ordinarily what is to be expected, when they reject, he mentions, when the mu'anidun, the obstinate ones, when they reject, I narrate to them the statements of the scholars from all of the schools. Yani proving that all of the ulama, they all said the same thing. He said, then I narrate to them the statements of the scholars from all of the madhahib. He said, I mention that to them. I mention what they say. بعدما حدثت الدعوة, what they mentioned about after the affair of making dua at the grave and making vows for the inhabitants of the grave. After this appeared, I will mention to them the scholars or the statements of the scholars from all of these madhahib. He said, فَعَرَفُوا ذَلِكَ وَتَحَقَّقُوا. He said, so they know it, they become acquainted with it, and they're certain of it. وَلَمْ يَزِدْهُمْ إِلَّا نُفُورًا. He said, and that does not increase them except in flight away. And the only thing they do is flee. And so the hujjah has been established. If one reads Kitabut Tawhid, then the hujjah is established by way of ayat, by way of ahadith, by way of statements of the Sahaba, by way of statements of the Tabi'een. To add to that, we'll mention the statements of your school as well, the ulama of your school of thought. To add to that, we'll mention the statements of the ulama from all of the schools. The fact that they were united upon this. And after all of this, they continue in flight away from the haqq. So what is to be done? إِلَّا أَن نَقُولْ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. Now, and so Shaykh Muhammad, therefore, he authored the book, Ikhwan, and within it, the talib, he benefits munadhara, usulul munadhara. He benefits fundamentals in debate. That which will indicate that is what we see in some of the chapters of the book. خذ مثلا, for example, the first chapter of Kitabut Tawhid. Imam Muhammad, he didn't write a muqaddimah. Some of the people of knowledge, they say that the reason he didn't write an introduction was because he did not want anything to come between him and conveying that which Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned concerning his Tawheed. But the first thing that he starts the book with is Qawlullahi Ta'ala, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. He begins the book upon the premise of ibadah. By way of this first ayah, you are clear concerning what the rest of the book is about. Tawheed al-ibadah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Is there any Muslim that would disagree with this? Not one. Not Quburi, not Sufi, not Rafidi, or not any other Muslim. None of them will disagree that the origin and the asl is ibadatullah. And so this premise then is from the usul of munadhara, from the usul of debate. If anyone has a debate with an individual, the origin in relation to discussion and dialogue is that we establish first and foremost a premise. We establish a motion. We establish a proposition. And then we debate and discuss that which is related to the premise. That our discussion is going to revolve around this. Do we agree? Our discussion is going to revolve around such and such topic. You're now going to put forward what you say concerning it, and I will present what I say. And so Imam Muhammad, he begins the book by establishing the origin and the asl of that which is related to Tawheed al-Ibadah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyah, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ. You were not created except to worship Him. And I'm sure we will all agree upon that. Since that is the premise, then he goes on to develop that which or that which follows from that, from argument, from ayat, from ahadith, from hujjah. In relation to the fact then that the book, regardless of the fact that it has been authored in the way that it has been authored, just the fact that it comes and it was written by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah ta'ala, there is a huge group of individuals that will reject it without reading it. And that is an affair that Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions in one of his writings that Al-Imam al-Qara'awi, and perhaps we'll read the statement. Al-Imam al-Qara'awi, Sheikh Abdullah al-Qara'awi, who was the Imam of the region of Samita, and that region where those great ulama, the likes of Sheikh al-Hafidh al-Hakami, the likes of Sheikh Ahmad al-Najmi, Sheikhana Sheikh Rabi', Sheikhana Sheikh Ali Nasir al-Faqih, and others. That region, a region of ulama, the Imam of that region was Sheikh al-Qara'awi. The one that brought the da'wah to the region, established the da'wah, that they were students of him. Sheikh al-Qara'awi, Sheikh Muhammad Aman, he mentions, he used to, he studied for a period in Hind, in India. He said, وَحَضَرَ مَجْلِسًا لِعَالِمٍ هِنْدِي يُدَرِّسُ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. And that he attended a dars from a alim, from the scholars of Hind that used to teach in the masjid. وَكَانَ مِنْ عَادَتِهِ إِذَا انْتَهَى مِنَ الدَّرْسِ يَدْعُ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And he used to, at the end of the dars, he would call upon Allah, make dua to Allah plentifully. he mentioned وَمِن دُعَائِهِ يَدْعُو عَلى الشيخ محمد بن عبد الوهاب ويلعنه. From his dua is that he would make dua against Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab and he would curse him. That was a part of the dua every day. He said, فَعَمَدَ الْعَلَّامَ الْقَرْعَاوِي رحمه الله إلى كتاب التوحيد فنزع عنه الغلاف والورقة الأولى التي تحمل اسم المؤلف ثم تقدم إلى المدرس الهندي فطلب منه أن يقرأ هذا الكتاب. He said, so he removed the cover. He removed the first page that has the author's name on it, and he gave the book to this sheikh and sought from him, just read the book. Bas, give me your opinion. And then give me your opinion on the book afterwards. He mentioned, فأخذ الشيخ الهندي الكتاب فقرأه فأعجب به فسأله العلامة القرعاوي في غد عن الكتاب فأخذ يثني على الكتاب ثناء عظيما ويصفه بأنه من أحسن الكتب في بابه. He said that, so he asked him the following day, what's your opinion about the book? He said, praising the book. MashaAllah, the best book that I've seen written in the topic. Beautiful, fantastic book. Praise the book. فقال العلامة القرعاوي رحمه الله تعالى إن مؤلف هذا الكتاب هو محمد بن عبد الوهاب الذي تلعنه. He said the author of the book is Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the one that you curse every day. He said فقدم له الغلاف والورقة الأولى. He said, so he gave him the cover and the first page that he removed from the book. التي عليها اسم الشيخ, the one that has the name of the sheikh upon it. فاندهش العالم الهندي وندم على ما فرط منه وأخذ يدعو للقرعاوي ثم غير موقفه من الشيخ وسار يدعو للشيخ آخر كل درس عودا عن سبه. He said, so thereon after he made dua for Shaykh al-Qar'awi, and then he changed his mawqif after being amazed with the book and amazed that it was Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. He changed his mawqif concerning the Shaykh, and thereon after he would make dua for Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rather than cursing him at the end of the dars. I mean, mashallah, this is a good example of one who received the da'wah of Shaykh Muhammad with khair. And so the origin, therefore, is that the study of the book and the authorship of the book, the intent behind it, and we see, as our scholars have mentioned, that the Shaykh, rahimahullah ta'ala, he wished that the people benefit from the book itself. That was the niyyah of the Shaykh, that the people benefit from the book. And as our scholars, they mention, it is manifest from the widespread nature and the qabool and the acceptance of a particular work that it has in it an indication of the ikhlas and the sincerity of the author. The fact that the book was accepted, widespread, that people love the book, turn towards it, explain it, teach it, learn it, study it, memorize it, that this is something of an indication of the intent and the ikhlas of the Shaykh. And so, as he mentioned, you will benefit, ikhwan, usul al-munadhara, from the usul and from the benefits that you'll take in relation to debate, is that Kitab At-Tawhīd, it uses agreed upon arguments, as we mentioned, for example, with the introduction, with the muqaddimah, and likewise the Shaykh, he debates using facts that the khusum and that the opponent agrees with, which is again another principle related to debate. You don't debate with someone with something he doesn't agree with. Rather, We find points of agreement and then we debate based upon those points of agreement. And so, an example of that is that which occurs in one of the chapters of Kitabut Tawhid, that the Imam, he uses an ayah, and it is an ayah, ikhwan, in Surah Zumar. قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِنْ أَرَادَنِيَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ هَلْ هُنَّ كَاشِفَاتُ ضُرِّي أَوْ أَرَادَنِي بِرَحْمَةٍ هل هن كاشفات هن ممسكات رحمتي. He mentions, say to those who worship other than Allah, do you see that which you worship? If Allah Azza wa Jal wishes to harm me, are they able to prevent that harm? Or if Allah Azza wa Jal wishes for me mercy, are they able to prevent the mercy? Not able. Premises that they will not debate about, they will not discuss or argue about. If Allah Azza wa Jal wishes harm for an individual, there is nothing and no one that can prevent that. And if Allah Azza wa Jal wishes to benefit a person with mercy or rahmah, there is no one that can cause that rahmah to be withheld. And so what does Allah Azza wa Jal mention? قُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ يَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. Say then, sufficient for me is Allah. Yani if they're not able to bring me any or prevent harm, if Allah wishes it for me, and if they're not able to prevent the mercy that Allah wishes for me, sufficient for us is Allah. He is the one that the mutawakkilun rely upon. Principles, ayyuhal ikhwa, in debate, simple but effective principles by way of which one is able to develop an argument. Therefore, what we want to do then, ikhwan, in our analysis of the book is we want to look at these 66 chapters first and foremost from a premise of a categorization of those chapters. It should be known that Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, when he compiled the book, they were not just random chapters about varying issues about Tawhid. He has a methodology in composition and in compiling the authorship. These 66 chapters, they revolve, ayyuhal ikhwa, around 10 themes or 10 areas. We wanted to discuss about 30 of the chapters of the book in this session, what we'll just mention, the 10 themes for today. The themes that are present within the book. And for those of you who wish to take notes, ikhwan, then you can take these notes and then we'll look at them tomorrow, inshallah. The first of these 10 themes is the muqaddimah, or the introduction. Under the introduction, we have some 5 chapters. As we mentioned, the Imam, he didn't write an introduction as authors normally do, but he began, after Kitabut Tawhid, he began with the subject matter. And so these 5 chapters are considered the introductory chapters of the book. So it is almost as though he made these chapters a substitute for his own written introduction. His introduction was nusus of the book and the Sunnah. So the first 5 chapters of Kitab At-Tawhīd, they are introductory chapters. The second area is the area related to the tafsir of At-Tawhīd. And that is encompassed by the following 9 chapters. The following 9 chapters revolve around the tafsir of At-Tawhīd itself and what opposes it. The tafsir of Tawhid and what opposes it. From those 9 chapters, the first discusses Tawhid itself, the definition, the tafsir of Tawhid, and then the remaining chapters of the book, in fact, all deal with what opposes it. And so those 9 chapters, one of them is around the tafsir of Tawhid. The rest revolves around the similar topic, tafsir of Tawhid, in relation to what opposes Tawhid from the affair of shirk. So the second section deals with the tafsir of Tawhid. The third section deals with the false nature of worshipping other than Allah. This is the third section. The false nature of worshipping other than Allah. And under that we have 4 chapters. The fourth section deals with the causes of the kufr of Ibn Adam. The causes of the kufr of Ibn Adam. And under that we have 4 chapters. The fifth section deals with a refutation of those who claim that shirk will not appear in this ummah. A refutation of those who claim that shirk will not appear in this ummah. And under that we have 1 chapter. The 6th section is a discussion of some of the a'mal al-shaytaniyya al-shirkiyya. The a'mal al-shaytaniyya al-shirkiyya. Some of the actions, yani the satanic actions that are considered shirk actions. And under that we have 7 chapters. The 7th section deals with the a'mal al-qulub, the actions of the heart, that which is related to Tawheed, and primarily a discussion of shirk in relation to the actions of the heart. And under that we have 9 chapters. The 8th section deals with a discussion of Tawheed al-Asma'i was-Sifat. And under that we have 1 chapter. Since Tawheed al-Asma'i was-Sifat, ikhwan, was not the main topic of the book, neither was Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. And so we do have some chapters around Asma'i was-Sifat. There are perhaps 3 chapters in total around Asma'i was-Sifat. But in this section there is only 1 chapter. But there are another 2 chapters that discuss Asma'i was-Sifat. But that was not the subject of the book. That was not the intent of Imam Muhammad. Though all of the categories of Tawheed, of course, are interconnected. And so you cannot discuss that which is related to Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah without discussing something related to Asma wa Sifat and Rububiyyah. But the subject of the book is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. And so under that 8th section, we have one chapter, and that is around Asma wa Sifat. The 9th section discusses Al-Manahi Al-Lafziyya, the statements that are prohibited. The statements that are prohibited. Yani those statements that have in them shirk, or that could lead to shirk, or that are considered minor shirk. Yani those statements that are shirky in nature. And under that, we have 29 chapters. Which indicates you have to mind what we say. And then the 10th section, or the final section, is the Khatima. And that is the conclusion and the bab, or the chapter that he made the seal of the whole book. And we'll look at that towards the end of tomorrow's section and session, bi'idhnillah. So with that, ikhwan, bi'idhnillah, tomorrow we'll look at, we probably won't discuss the full 66 chapters, but we'll look at some of how the Imam has constructed those chapters, how he made and linked and connected some of those chapters, so that we can get an overall synopsis and benefit of the book, inshaAllah. We'll begin that in tomorrow's session. والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. 66. Oh, the last section, section 10 is one bab, one chapter.